basic definition of sexual harassment, which is any kind of unwelcome sexual remarks, like verbal harassment, and or physical advances in the workplace or in any other social situation. Now, in terms of the film industry, since the time it first became popular, there has been a long history of sexual harassment, sexual assault, rape, and sexual coercion committed by highly influential men against women of unequal power. Now, in terms of this issue's relevance to feminism, America has come a long way in terms of prohibiting sexual harassment in the workplace and creating laws that do that, and also having the Equal Employment Opportunities Commission to enforce those laws. However, in terms of the entertainment industry, in which there is a huge gender power imbalance, men have so much power and so much influence that they can shield themselves from prosecution, effectively making those laws null and void. So I think it's important to shine a light on this issue because this is one of the few professions in which sexual harassment is still openly accepted and normalized within America. The theme that I am exploring in terms of sexual harassment in the film industry is sexual coercion, which is defined as the act of using pressure, drugs, or alcohol to get someone to have sex against his or her will. In the film industry, some male producers, directors, and actors have abused their power for the purpose of coercing women for sex. Now, they do this in a variety of ways. They do it by offering them film roles and implying that they expect sex as compensation for the part of the role, or the man may have female fans that he is spending time with and that admire him greatly, and he uses this admiration to expose himself or to pressure them in any type of way, and he is thinking that the advantage of their admiration for him and their fandom for him is that they won't go to the cops because they admire him so much. In addition, they might even threaten to ruin their career if they rebuff his advances. They might blacklist them. All types of ways are at these men's disposal because these men have the power to make or break their careers if they wanted in this industry. Sexual coercion and harassment in the history of Hollywood is well documented. However, the casting couch wasn't always a thing in the American film industry. The gendered power differential in Hollywood was actually not as pronounced in the beginning. Since Hollywood was just a growing industry with 100 of tiny companies experimenting in a new medium, there was lots of room for people who would not otherwise have advanced in more traditional businesses, like women. Women actually had positions of greater influence in those days. However, in the 1920s, things began to change. More expensive movies became financed by bankers, and women filmmakers weren't given the funding that these male movie makers were given. And more men started moving in to run behind the behind-the-scenes business of movie making. Movie making started to gain more prestige, and males started flocking to go out and direct movies. Now with men starting to wield the ability to make all the decisions behind the scenes, the casting couch culture of expecting sex for movie roles and career advancement was able to develop. And this development of the casting couch culture actually coincided with the increasing sexual objectification of women in films to create an overall environment in the industry and even outside the industry where women could be treated as objects because they could be seen as objects. here's just a few examples of sexual harassment in those early days of Hollywood. We have household names like Shirley Temple and Judy Garland, who actually experienced sexual harassment way back then. Shirley Temple, at the innocent age of 12 years old, met with Arthur Freed, who was a powerful MGM producer, in a private meeting where he unzipped his pants and exposed himself to her. Louis B. Mayer, another MGM film producer, actually used complimenting Judy Garland's singing voice as an excuse to grope her breast. He said she sang from the heart while he groped her. And also, in terms of Judy Garland's case, another film executive demanded sex from her outright and threatened that he'd ruin her and break her when she refused him. So yeah, those are just a few examples of sexual harassment historically, way back when the film industry began. Okay, in terms of the historic activism back in the 1920s and 1940s, there was actually no concentrated movement against casting couch culture and sexual harassment in the U.S. film industry specifically. But there was still, of course, feminist activism, which was going on in the larger society in that time period as women fought and won for the right to vote with the ratification of the 19th Amendment. So even without a concentrated social movement, there were still individual actresses like Judy Garland, which I just mentioned before, who stood up for themselves against these powerful men to let them know that they wouldn't further tolerate their behavior. As Bell Hooks stated, until all men cease to believe that someone other than themselves is required to respond to their sexual needs, demanding sexual subordination of partners will continue. Except that in this case, powerful men demanding sexual favors from their employees will continue until men are pushed by not just those individual women, but the society as a whole, to believe that they are not required to serve their needs just for a part. Now, in the modern day, with the advent of social media and the fact that society is getting more and more progressive socially, sexual harassment can't be as blatant and open in the 1920s, 1930s, in the early days of Hollywood like it was back then. It has to be more covert. It has to operate, and men have to pursue and coerce women in more insidious ways. Extremely powerful film producers like Harvey Weinstein, who's an exemplary of these insidious ways of sexual coercion, have set up an entire media and judicial apparatus to consistently sexually harass and assault women and continue to protect themselves from prosecution. The ways he would do it, he threatened journalists who wanted to cover the story of his many allegations, saying that they'd lose access to him. These journalists were worried that they'd lose access to consulting deals they had with Weinstein, that they'd lose book deals they had with him. And here's a few quotes from a journalist named Paula Froelich, who had interacted with Harvey Weinstein, who shot some light on the thinking of these people that operate around him that keep their silence. She says that people don't want to report on the table, they want a seat at it. She also says, here's the thing, they want to work. All these guys know each other. It's a massive good old boy system. And if you want to work, you keep your mouth shut. So all these other celebrities created a certain type of a culture of secrecy where Harvey Weinstein's crimes were an open secret. Most everybody knew about them, but since no one wanted to lose their career opportunities in Hollywood, they kept silent. This pattern extends to other male stars in Hollywood who people didn't want to report on because they were famous and well-connected. Now, the Hollywood culture of secrecy, where powerful males like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and Brett Ratner could cover up the harassment and assault of women, is a textbook example of rape culture. Rape culture is an environment where sexual assault and rape are trivialized and normalized. Bianca Filborn, a criminologist professor, said that it was widely accepted that senior figures were simply expected to take advantage of young women. This is exemplary of the normalization of rape and sexual assault in Hollywood. The presence of rape culture in Hollywood and throughout the larger society is the reason why famous women who were victimized didn't come out when it happened. They knew there would be violence and hostility towards them instead of the male accused perpetrator. They knew the people would seek to blame them, the victim, instead of the perpetrator. And ultimately, they probably had the justified belief that the police and fellow colleagues in the movie business would do nothing about it, even if they told them. And not to mention that they would be putting any hopes of their career in jeopardy by coming out against these powerful male executives. Alright, here's the good news. In terms of the contemporary activism that has, in the past few years, really decimated the Hollywood culture of silence and normalized male sexual coercion, we have the hashtag #MeToo movement, which I'm sure everybody has heard of by now. The New York Times wrote a watershed article about Harvey Weinstein in 2017, where no one before dared to write about him. This, combined with the actress Ashley Judd being the first to come out publicly accusing Harvey Weinstein of sexual misconduct, and also the actress Alyssa Milano telling everyone to reply "Me Too" to her tweet if they themselves had been sexually harassed, which went viral. With these three actions, the proverbial dam burst open as hundreds of women who were afraid to speak out alone now felt comfortable sharing what had happened to them. And this movement was founded by Tarana Burke, as she coined the term "Me Too," hashtag "Me Too," originally for poor women of color who had been sexually assaulted. And where there was silence on sexual harassment and assault before, the hashtag #MeToo movement almost seemingly overnight proliferated a worldwide conversation on these issues. To conclude, I learned that progress has been made in terms of the laws that prohibit sexual harassment and sexual assault. However, within the Hollywood industry in particular, if you are a powerful man, or really just a man in general, you can be shielded from being revealed as a victimizer because of the rape culture prevalent in Hollywood. A culture in which men and women keep silent about offenders because their career advancement is tied to that silence. A culture in which the male offender is given the benefit of the doubt and the female victim of the assault is voraciously questioned. The Me Too movement has totally flipped these conditions around, however, as scores of male celebrity offenders have been outed and ostracized. Now, hopefully, the prosecutions of two of the biggest perpetrators, Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby, are signs of the beginning of a new culture where women are believed and sexual harassment is eradicated because men who commit